Hello and welcome. This is the Sleepy Informer, and if you've settled in with me tonight, thank you very much for being here. This is episode 1 of Fall Asleep with the Sleepy Informer, where I sit quietly and potter along at something gentle, and you, hopefully, drift very slowly off into a lovely long sleep. That's really the whole idea. Nothing more than that. Tonight we're going to be playing a game called Town to City. If you've not sat with one of these before, it's a very cozy little city builder, done in this soft, chunky voxel style, with really beautifully done lighting, and the whole thing is set out in a peaceful sort of countryside somewhere, a lake, a train station, a bit of gently rolling ground. Families arrive on the train, 1 or 2 at a time, and we build them houses and shops and little roads, and slowly, over time, our town becomes a village, and then a small town, and then a proper city. Nothing loud ever happens. There's no danger. Nothing chases you. Nobody is going anywhere quickly. Which is exactly what we want tonight. The particular episode we're recording is called Bigger Town, Bigger Houses, which is a lovely name for it actually, because both of those things are going to happen. Our little town is going to spread out a fair bit. We'll add a whole new shopping cluster on the other side of the lake, and we'll get a monument, and we'll tip over into being a proper village by the time we're done. And the houses themselves are going to get bigger too. We're going to unlock a lovely thing that lets us pop a second story on top of any of our little residences, so what was a single story with 1 family in it becomes a 2-story with 2 families. Bigger town, bigger houses. Nice symmetry to it, I think. So, before we begin, do get yourself comfortable, sort your pillow out the way you like it, blanket tucked in just so. If your feet are cold, put a pair of socks on before we start, because you don't want to have to climb back out from underneath the covers halfway through. Take a slow breath in, all the way down, and a slow breath out, and another one. Slow in, slow out. Lovely. Let's tuck you in then, and let's get down to sleep, together with Town to City. Right, so we're loading in, and it takes just a moment or two, and here we are, back in our little town, exactly where we left it last time. The train station sitting there quietly. The lake, still and dark, off to one side. A row of our first few houses in a small cluster on the near side of the water, with their little windows lit up because it's night time in the game just now, and a few of our residents already moved in, going about their business, walking very slowly along the paths in that lovely little unhurried way they have. It's really quite pretty, this map. I'd forgotten. There's the water, of course, and there are the beginnings of some pathways we laid last time, and there's the research center, that funny little building with the sloped roof over on the corner. And you can see, if you zoom in, tiny lights on inside the houses, and the occasional villager standing very still by their front gate as if they're thinking about whether or not to go inside, which is a mood I recognize. Now, before I've even really had a chance to look around properly, we've got a little notification popping up in the corner. Someone in the town wants to speak to me, a woman by the name of Marie Bonholm. Marie is one of our early residents, and she's written us a very sweet note, and she says, let me just read it. She says that everyone in town is ever so excited about the potential for our little settlement to grow into a proper city one day, and that everything's going along nicely, but some of the newer arrivals have been having a few small issues, and she thinks the best thing we could do about it would be to build ourselves a house. A mayor's house, specifically, with 1 big mailbox on the front of it. That way, she says, if anyone in town has got a request or a problem or just wants to write to us, they'll have somewhere to send it, and we'll always know how to reach them back. And, well, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That's a very sensible way of doing things. Which is, I have to say, a rather lovely idea. A mayor's house. I don't think I've ever really thought of myself as a mayor before, but here we are, and I quite like the sound of it. And I especially like the idea of a big mailbox on the front. There's something rather old-fashioned and pleasing about that. I was thinking, actually, only the other day, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the post box on the corner of my street has one of those little plates on the bottom of it, saying when the next collection is, and the pin that holds the number in place has been the same one my entire life, which shouldn't really be a remarkable thing when you say it out loud. But I found it very comforting when I stopped and noticed it the other day. Small pieces of the world that just quietly stay the same. Anyway, where were we? The mayor's house. Right. Let's have a think about where we might put it. We probably don't want to be right next to the station, do we? That feels a bit too public for a mayor. Mayors need a small bit of privacy, I feel. And I quite like the look of that little rise up above the water. There's a bit of a soft cliff up there, and if we tuck the house right up on top with its back looking out over the drop, we'd have a rather nice view over the lake. So we'll go up there. We'll pause the game for a moment while we work it out, actually. Just so no more trains come pulling in while we're distracted. There, everything's stopped. All the little residents are frozen mid-step, very peaceful. And now we can concentrate. Let's have a look for the mayor's house in the menu. It's not with the regular houses, I don't think. It's tucked away in one of the special buildings tabs. Ah, there we go. Right at the top of one of the lists. Mayor's home. And before we place it down, we want to make sure the front's facing the right way. Because there's nothing sadder, is there, than a mayor's house whose front door is looking straight at a wall. So we'll press Z once, that spins it a quarter turn. And now the front is looking out over what will eventually be a nice little approach path up from the road below. Lovely. Down it goes, right on top of the hill. The construction icon pops up, and the little workers are already starting to put it together. And while all that's happening, we can lay a road up to it so that people know how to get there. A brick road, I think. Nothing fancy. And not too wide. We want it narrow, something more like a lane than a main road. So we'll come out of the road at the bottom of the hill, and we'll curl our way gently up the side, sort of switching back on itself as it climbs, so that it feels a bit more like a proper hilltop drive. There, that'll do nicely. And now, while the house is finishing, I'll just have a look around. The water in this lake is really rather beautifully done. There's a very soft ripple on it, and the reflection of the night sky moves slowly across it. And if you didn't know it was a video game, you might, honestly, think it was one of those very quiet nature documentaries where nothing really happens for 10 minutes at a time, except a slow pan across some water. I could watch water for a long time. Some people can't. Some people find still water a bit boring, but I quite like it. There, the house is up, and it is, I have to say, a house fit for a mayor. Nice little pitched roof, big front door, and yes, there's the mailbox on the front, exactly as Marie promised. Big and round and slightly squat looking, on a little post. And would you believe it, we already have mail. A letter has arrived. That was quick, wasn't it? Word travels fast in a small town. Let's have a read. Right, our first letter. It's from one of the residents, though there's no name signed at the bottom of it. She just addresses it to the mayor. And she says that when she moved out here, she didn't quite realize she'd have to survive without her favorite tailor. She's worried, she says, that she's getting desperately out of fashion, poor thing. She's wondering if I'd be a dear and build a clothing boutique in the town, and, she adds, this is the important bit, would I make sure they sell red clothes, because she hears red is the latest trend, apparently, in the big city. Well, all right, red clothes it is. First world problems, as they used to say, and I don't really hear that expression very much anymore, do you? You almost never hear it now. But you know, it's a very sweet request when you think about it. She's just arrived somewhere new, and she wants to feel a bit like herself, and a bit stylish. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Perfectly reasonable, so we'll get her a clothing shop and it'll sell red things and she'll be over the moon. While we're at it, a second little message from Marie has come in. She's saying the house looks great, thank you very much, and that requests will start coming in soon. Which, well, yes, they already have. She's a bit behind on the news, is Marie, but she also says something very kind, which is, don't worry if it takes a while to address any of the requests. We're patient townsfolk, which is honestly one of the nicest things you could hear as a mayor, isn't it? Don't rush. Take your time. We're patient. I might have that printed on a little card and put it up on the fridge. So, we'll need a clothing shop. But we can't just plop one down. We've got to research it first, because it's not unlocked yet. Let's go and have a look at the research menu. It's up in the top corner, this little icon that looks a bit like a book with a cog on it. Click. Right. And here are all the things we could learn about. There's second floor housing, which is the big one for tonight. We'll be coming back to that later. That's the thing that lets us upgrade our little houses to have 2 stories and fit more people in. There's a large warehouse, which is a bigger version of the small one we've already built. There's animal decorations, which I imagine is little chickens and cats and things you can put around the place to make it feel homely. There's the clothing store itself, which is what we came for. Good. And, oh look, right underneath it there's also set clothing colors, which is exactly what our red clothes lady was hoping for. Very handy. So we'll grab that too. Let's see what else we've got here. A shoemaker. That's a nice one. We'll come back to that. Halloween decorations, which is a slightly unexpected sort of thing to find in a menu like this, but I have a small feeling we might have use for those later on in the evening, so we'll pick them up as well. Park decorations, and a butcher. And, further down, terraforming, which is the tool that lets us raise and lower the actual ground itself. Very useful when you want to smooth out a bit of hillside. And, further down still, the Fountain of Seasons, which is our first monument. That sounds rather grand, doesn't it? The Fountain of Seasons. Now, we've got a certain number of research points to spend, and we don't want to burn through them all at once, so we'll just tick off the essentials for now. The clothing shop, the clothing colors, the second floor housing, we'll set that going, and a few of the smaller ones. We can always come back and get more later on, once the research center has quietly earned us some more points in the background. It ticks away all on its own, the research center, which is a lovely design. You don't have to keep going back to check on it. Right. So, while all of that's unlocking quietly behind the scenes, another family has arrived on a train and would like to move in, and, well, we haven't actually got a house for them, so we'll build one. Just a simple, sandy-colored townsfolk residence, right here on the little path near the water. And we won't bother rotating it too fussily this time. We'll just plop it down. There we go. It's not perfectly aligned. That's all right. It's fine. Life is not perfectly aligned either. They can move in. They wanted a regular, comfortable house, and that is very much what this is. Regular, comfortable, and blue. Welcome to town. And here they come, walking very slowly and gently from the train station along the path towards their new front door. Another family has come along on the same train, as it happens. This one wants a house near shops. Now, we don't quite have enough shops in one cluster yet to serve them properly, so we're going to have to think about that. But we've got a bit of space to play with. I think what we might do is extend the road around the edge of the lake, in a sort of gentle curve, and make ourselves a bit of a cul-de-sac down there. That's a nice sounding word, cul-de-sac. Very French. It means the bottom of the sack, apparently, which is a strange thing to name a road after when you stop and think about it. But there we are. That's the word for it. Anyway, let's stretch the road round like that. And we'll make it just a touch wider so that it feels like a proper little street rather than an alley. And there we go. That gives us space for another house or two, tucked in along the water, and this new family can go there. Perfect. They're happy. The house is theirs. And you can see how the food shops nearby just about reach them if we click on one, with their little green rings of influence. the range extending out just far enough to give them a poultry stall and a cheese stall within a comfortable walk. Which is what a comfortable walk means in a game like this, really. Being within the little green ring of a cheese stall. While that's settling, I'm going to have a look at what other pieces have come through in the mail, because I've got a feeling we've got a few more things queued up to attend to. And I want to just sit for a moment and enjoy the little town from up here on the hill by the mayor's house, actually, before we plough on. If you look down at it from this angle, you can see all our lit windows in a small scattered constellation along the water, and the paths threading between them, and that first row of shop stalls, and the warehouse behind them, and the research centre with its little rooftop cog turning very slowly, and just for a moment it feels like a very complete little world all on its own. Which is, of course, more or less what it is. Right. On we go. Right, so we've got our clothing boutique unlocked now. It appeared in the menu the moment the research finished, and it's sitting there rather smartly, waiting to be placed. $255 it costs, which is quite a lot in the scheme of things. We've got, let me have a look, $16,700 in the bank, roughly, so we can absolutely afford it. Mayoral finances are, at this stage in our little town, in a surprisingly healthy state, which is a nice change from most mayoral finances, I imagine. Now, where to put it? Our little shopping cluster over on this side of the lake is starting to feel a bit crowded. There's a poultry stall and a cheese stall and a warehouse tucked in behind, and just about enough space for one more building if we're clever about it. Let's have a look. We can rotate this shop by pressing Z and X, and no, it won't fit there, not quite. There's a house in the way. What about if we, what if we just tuck it in right along the edge here, next to the path? Ah, snap to path, that's a lovely little option. There's a small button in the corner that lets the building automatically hop onto the nearest bit of pavement, and lo and behold, our shop just sort of pings into position, all nicely aligned. That's the kind of quality of life feature that makes an evening go a lot more smoothly. So we'll place it there. Down it goes. And the little workers are already building it. While that's coming up out of the ground, so to speak, I've been thinking, it won't actually reach all our houses, this shop, will it? Its range only stretches out so far, and there are quite a few houses over on the far side of the water now. So we're probably going to need a second clothing shop eventually, and a butcher, and maybe another market stall or two, which means, really, what we ought to do, and this is starting to feel like a proper little town planning meeting, isn't it? What we ought to do is build a whole second shopping cluster, somewhere over on the other side. A little parade of shops that can serve the newer houses. I know just the spot, actually. If I pan the camera round, there we go. You can see this bit of ground over here that curves away from the lake, past the last of the houses we've built so far, and it goes gently uphill and eventually flattens out into a nice bit of open land. That would be perfect for a little run of stalls, so we'll bring a road up around that way and we'll put shops down on either side, or maybe just along one side in a nice tidy row, and it'll be a whole new district. A second little shopping street, rather grand. But first, the clothing shop is finished, and there's a message. Fashion, it says. An achievement, apparently. Build and activate your first apparel building. And, well, we've done that. Very good. Very civic-minded of us. Now we need workers, of course. Shops don't run themselves, do they? So we'll open the little labor panel. That's the tab with the small silhouette of a person on it. And we'll add one of our residents in to work behind the counter. Ah, we've got plenty of townsfolk available. In you go. And we'll also, and this is the important bit, we'll set the colour. There's a little colour swatch, and we can pick from, let me see. I can see white, and a sort of blue, and a green, and a yellow, and, there it is, red, for our fashionable lady. So we'll click that. Red clothes it is. She'll be delighted. And speaking of delighted, no sooner have I set that color than a message pops up from her. My friends will be jealous of this dress, she says. Even those big city folk would be envious of my beautiful garments. Which is very sweet. And the mayor, that's us, has to reply with something suitably encouraging, and we've got a little choice of things to say, and I'm going to go with, "You look stunning," because that's just a lovely thing to say to someone, and you can never say it too often, really. My mayor, she writes back, "Aren't you handing out compliments today? Quest complete." And we get $125 for our trouble. Which is, that's the thing about this game that I really rather love. Someone has a small worry, we do a small nice thing about it. They're happy, we get a bit of money and a bit of goodwill, and the little town gets a little bit more comfortable to live in. And that's it. That's the whole loop. Nobody's angry, nobody's dying, nobody's being chased through the woods by anything. Somebody just wanted a red dress, and now she's got one, and she's writing us thank you notes. Right, new request. There's already another letter in the mailbox. And this one is from the sound of it, it's from a little pack of children, actually. And they're saying, hang on, let me read it. They're saying, "We don't want to play hide and seek." And I click through, and, "Oh, don't you like it anymore?" "Of course we do," they say. "But there's no pretty flowers. We want to hide in bushes with flowers." And that's followed by, "I want to." Which is a very small child sort of answer to a question, isn't it? What does that have to do with hide and seek? And they just say, "I just want to." Which, honestly, is fair enough. Sometimes you just want a thing to be a certain way, and there isn't really a reason for it, and the reason is that you want it. That's a very valid position in life, I think. Right, so what they want is for us to place flowery bushes around the neighborhood. Just, in the yards and along the paths. So we'll open the decoration menu, that's the little icon that looks like a small tree, and we'll scroll through and find the flowery bush. There it is. It's a lovely little thing, actually, sort of round and green with dots of pink and yellow and white on it. Very cheerful. We just need to put a few down around the place. And it doesn't really matter where. The request is just to plant a certain number of them in the neighborhood. So we'll pop one on the corner of that little yard there, and another one in the gap between those two houses, and one down in the corner of the next house along. That's 3. And, oh look, our own house, the mayor's house, could do with one. So we'll put one right by the front step. Very homely, very welcoming. And a few more just scattered gently along the road, in the little verge bits between the pavement and the front gardens. There, 6, 7, 8. And that should be enough, I think. Yes, that's done it. And what's lovely, you can already see people getting happier all over the neighborhood as we go. Those little smiley face icons pinging up above the houses one after another. Just because there are some pretty flowers on the corner, that's really nice. Why not make the place look a bit nicer, honestly? Even if you're not a mayor, even if it's just your own front step, a pot of something with flowers on it can absolutely change the mood of your morning. I really believe that. And the kids write back, "Ooh, these flowery bushes smell great. Hide and seek smells great now. I want to play. Yay." Which is, it doesn't really make a lot of sense as sentences, but nothing said by very small children ever really does, and that's part of the charm of them. "Go on and play, little ones," we tell them. And they trot off, and they give us $100 for our trouble, which is a slightly baffling amount of money for a child to have, but you don't argue with these things. Right, onwards. Now I want to actually get properly started on this second shopping district on the other side, the one I was talking about earlier. So we'll pan the camera round, we'll take a moment to have a proper look at the ground over there, and we'll lay it out. I think Yes, we'll pull a road out of our current main road, curving up around the hill, and it'll come round like this, and it'll flatten out at the top into a bit of a straight run. That's where we'll put the shops, along the road, nice and orderly. And we'll want to make the road a little bit thinner than the main one, a small side street really. So we'll adjust the brush size down a notch. You can see the road cursor getting slimmer as we do it, and we'll draw it out. There's our little side street. Curling round the hill, really quite pretty actually, with the way it dips away from the main road and disappears round the corner and comes back out on top of the rise. Lovely. Now, food stalls first. We had someone earlier wanting a house near shops, and this'll help with that. So we'll place a run of them along the top of the road. Poultry there, cheese there, fish stall next to that, vegetable stall next to that, and, oh look, we've got a fruit and salad stall now, apparently. When did that unlock? I don't remember doing that. Well, that's a lovely little addition. We'll place one of those too. That's 5 stalls in a row, very proper little market street. And on the other side of the road runs down the middle, you see, so we've got houses potentially on one side and shops on the other. Actually, no. On the other side of the road, we'll put the butcher we researched earlier. That's a slightly bigger building, the butcher, so we want to give it a bit of space, and it's nice not to have all the shops on one side. And, we'll want a second clothing store here too, eventually, to reach the houses on this side of the town. So we'll place one of those as well. There. And we'll make this one green, I think. Not red. We've done red. Let's do green over here. A different palette for a different part of town. Green shirts for the folks on this side of the lake. And each of these will need workers. We'll go along and quickly staff each one. One person in the poultry stall. One in the cheese. One in the fish. One in the vegetable. One in the fruit and salad. 2 in the butcher. That's a bigger operation. 1 in the green clothing store, at least to begin with. And, oh dear, we've got a warning coming up. It says, warehouse can't transport to this building. And, underneath that, the warehouse is very far from the station and/or commercial buildings. Consider placing it closer for more efficient transport routes. Right. Well, that's a fair complaint, actually. Our little warehouse is over on the far side of the lake, and it's got a long way to travel to reach these new shops. That's just how it is when you spread out. So we've probably got 2 options. We can either try to move the existing warehouse, although honestly that'd upset the shops it's already serving, or we can build a second warehouse over here on this side, which, on balance, I think is what we'll do. A whole second warehouse. And we can, actually, if we want to, upgrade to a large warehouse now. We just researched that, so we'll do that. A big one. Right. Where? Somewhere near the middle of this new shopping row, so it can reach both directions. There. Down it goes. And we'll click on it, and we'll add a couple of workers. Because a warehouse needs workers to actually deliver the goods, and without them, all the shops just sit there, empty. You know what? I say all this like I'm making executive decisions, but honestly, half of running a little town like this is standing about looking at your buildings and going, of course, I meant to do that. There's a fair bit of, oh, that's why, in these games, which I find quite relaxing, weirdly. It's not the kind of learning where you have to remember things for an exam. It's just gently working out how a small system fits together, one bit at a time, over the course of a few sleepy evenings. Right, warehouse is built, warehouse has workers, and the little transport lines are appearing on the map now, those very faint routes drawn between the warehouse and each of the shops, and if you squint you can see little worker figures beginning to walk along them, ferrying goods back and forth. Very satisfying. All the red warning lines have gone green, which is always a pleasant moment. I'm reminded, this is entirely unrelated, but I'm reminded of when I was much younger, and my dad used to make model railway layouts in the loft. And there was a particular little station he had, quite a small one, with a goods yard next to it. And I remember him showing me how the freight cars had to be shunted around from the sidings to the platforms in a particular order, or the whole thing wouldn't work. And I remember standing on a stool looking down at it, listening to him explain, and not really understanding a word of it, but very much enjoying the idea of it, the little logistics of it. Everything in the right place at the right time. My dad's not really up in that loft anymore, but he still has the layout apparently. Somewhere, in bits, in a box. I should ask him about it. Anyway, where were we? Yes, warehouse working, shops working, little goods being ferried back and forth. Excellent. Now, we've had more people arriving on the train while I was doing all that. 2 more families, I think. Let's see who they are. Right. One of them just wants a regular, comfortable house. That's easy. We've got a spot near the top of the new shopping street that would suit them nicely. In you go. And the other one, this one wants a house surrounded by a lot of trees and, we don't have any tree bits ready. But we'll come back to that. For now, we'll just note it down. Family wants trees. Add to list. And, oh, look, another letter's arrived at the mayor's house. Let's go and pick it up. Right. This one is from, well, it's a bit dramatic, this one. It starts with the word help in capital letters, which is always a good sign that something isn't really an emergency. Real emergencies rarely start with capital H, help. They usually start with, hello, could you possibly? But anyway, help, they say. Last night I was playing in the woods and I saw an old knight's ghost. Really? Really? Seriously? They say. He was moaning and dragging his sword through the dirt. I swear he did. Please make the ghost go away before he scares everyone. Now, this is another child, I think, or someone very imaginative. And it turns out, and I hadn't quite expected this, that the way to solve a ghost problem in town to city is not to actually get rid of anything, but rather to build the ghost a nice little home. A little haunted corner. Somewhere spooky and pleasant for the ghost to be, so he doesn't have to go wandering around the woods dragging his sword about. Which is a genuinely lovely piece of design, I think. Rather than treating the ghost as a problem, we treat the ghost as a resident who just needs some accommodation. Aren't we all a bit like that? Aren't we all just ghosts wandering around because nobody's built us a nice little corner to sit in? Anyway. Getting philosophical. So we need to put in some spooky decorations. We've got a gravestone. That was one of the Halloween decorations we researched earlier, and I had a feeling those would come in handy. And we've got withered trees. And mist. Oh, look, there's mist. That's atmospheric. And a jack-o'-lantern. And some withered ivy. Right. Where shall we put this? Let me have a scoot around the map. I want to find somewhere that feels appropriately tucked away, not too near the houses. Somewhere on the edge of things, in a bit of open ground where the trees peter out. Ah yes, up here. There's a little corner behind the shops, where the road stops and there's just open grass, and the ground rises up a bit, and you could imagine a small dark bit of forest beyond. That'll do. That's just the spot for a ghost. We'll pop the gravestone down first. Ooh, there are actually different styles of gravestone, I see. Different shapes and, angles of leaning. That's a nice level of detail. I'll go with a sort of classic upright one. Bit weathered looking. Down it goes. And now the game wants me to place a single flower next to it. Just one. Which is a lovely little touch, isn't it? Every ghost deserves a single flower on their grave. Let me find the single flower option. There we are. Not the sunflower. That's the big one. The single flower. Just a small, ordinary one, and we'll rotate it a bit. No, that's fine actually. It's fine facing the way it is. And we'll pop it just there, at the base of the stone. Beautiful. Very sweet. Right. Now we need lanterns, or candles, apparently, to light up the little area. which is a good instinct. You don't want a graveyard to be pitch dark. That's just asking for trouble. Let me see what we've got in the way of lanterns. There's the jack-o'-lantern, of course, which is that classic pumpkin with a face thing. And there's a street light. And, that's a bit... Yes, we could put a street light there, but a street light next to a gravestone is a bit municipal for the mood we're going for. Let's use the jack-o'-lanterns. Right, 10 of them, it wants. That's quite a lot. But you know, it's a themed area, isn't it? Let's really commit to it. So we'll circle the gravestone with them, one at each of the corners, and a couple more along the little path leading up to it, and a couple more between the graves. There. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. It looks like a little pumpkin patch has spontaneously grown around this poor knight's resting place. And now we need withered trees, apparently, to really finish the mood. We've got a few options, a small withered ivy, and a couple of different sizes of withered tree. Some of them, oddly, won't place in certain spots. The game gives us an invalid location message, which is a bit mysterious, but we'll shuffle them around until we find spots that work. There, and a couple more around the edge. A little copse of dead-looking trees. You know, when I stand back and look at it, it's actually quite pretty, in a spooky sort of way. There's the gravestone with the single flower at the base, and the ring of jack-o'-lanterns glowing softly around it, and the withered trees around the edges, and beyond it, the lights of our normal, cozy little town. It's a strange combination, but a nice one, somewhere for the imagination to go, without the imagination getting too scared. Which, I think, is probably exactly what the child who wrote us was after. And of course, in comes the reply. Thank you, they say. With the old knight chased away, I can start adventuring in the woods again. Ghosts be gone. And the mayor writes back, and I pick the reply option that says, you do realize it was just your imagination, right? Don't stray from the lit path, because I couldn't help myself. Honestly, I'm the sort of person who can't help pointing out the practical thing, even when I know I shouldn't. Anyway, quest complete. $450 for our trouble. That's a very reasonable rate for building a haunted corner, I feel. Well worth it. Right, let me have a stretch. Just for a second. Big, long, slow breath in. Nice big breath out. And back to it. Right. So while we've been doing the ghost's little corner, our research points have been quietly ticking along in the background, and we've got a nice tidy stack of them again. Let's have a look at what else we can unlock. It's worth just picking a few things at a time, so we've always got something new to be reaching for. We're going to grab the large warehouse. Well, we've already done that one actually. That's why the second one we built earlier was a big one. We'll grab the path decorations. That's a nice one. That gives us little cobbled edges and things to line our roads with. And we've got about 7 or 8 research points still in the bank after that. There we go. That'll do for now. The research center will just keep ticking away and we'll come back to it in a little bit. More people wanting to move in. The train came in while I was reading. It's amazing how they keep arriving. And I feel like I did make all this space for houses on the new side, and it feels a bit rude to not build any. So we'll pop in a couple more residences down along the new road. One in that sort of purpley blue color, which is a nice change from all our sandy colored ones. And another one next to it in a similar sort of style, so they match a bit. Snap to path, which is such a lovely little option. The houses just click straight into position along the road as if they've grown there naturally. And, we could actually get a little footpath running between them, couldn't we? Up through the back. A nice narrow one. Just a pedestrian route rather than a road. So we'll change the brush size right down, and we'll draw a small sandy path between the two houses, coming out the other side. Very sweet. Little backway for the residents. There. And another house down there. And there. Right. That gives us plenty of room for people to move in now. In you come. In you come. Now this new family, You can tell them apart by the little icon that appears over their head when they arrive at the station, saying what they want. And this one just wants a regular, comfortable house, which is very nice and undemanding, so we'll put them straight into that new one there. Lovely. And oh, another letter has arrived. Sigh. This one starts with sigh. Every tree in that neighborhood looks the same, they say. They're all leafy. You are fussy, I say, aloud, to the screen. What do you expect from trees? Trees are leafy. That's the whole point of trees. But they explain. They're not asking for fewer trees. They're asking for a different sort. There are too many oaks, they say. We need pines. And they say they've got some saplings and mulch lying around, and would I be a deer and plant 10 pine trees around the neighborhood, just to spruce up the town? Which, spruce up the town, is either a very good pun or an accidental one, and I can't quite tell which. But I appreciate it either way. I love how it kind of just hand feeds you your little tasks, this game. You never really have to sit and stare at the screen wondering what to do next. There's always a small, polite request coming in from someone, and you just take it and do it, which is a lovely way to structure an evening, honestly. So, pine trees, 10 of them. Let's have a look. If we open the decorations menu and search pine, we get, oh, look, there are several different kinds of pine tree. There's a big one, and a medium one, and a smaller one. And I think what we'll do is use a mixture of them, actually, so it doesn't look like a plantation. Real forests have all sorts of sizes of the same tree, don't they? You never see a real forest where every tree is the same height. Let's have a little sit-down moment while we do this bit, actually, because there's no rush. This is one of those bits where you're just quietly placing things and looking around. So I'll pop one big pine tree over there, on that little verge, and another one down by the water, and a medium one there in that yard, and another medium one where? Where would that look nice? Yes, there, at the corner, and a small one tucked in behind the mayor's house. Why not? Give ourselves a little bit of pine to look out at. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far, so 5 to go. And a big one right on the corner of the water. That looks lovely, actually. Pine tree by the water, reflected in it a little bit. Dark green against the darker blue. Very Scandinavian. And another one over here where the ground rises a bit. 7. I'm quite enjoying laying these out, actually. Pines are a nice tree. They have that quality of being sort of quiet trees. Oak trees, you know, they're big and expressive and their leaves rustle a lot. But a pine tree is just sort of there. It doesn't demand your attention. It's just quietly being tall and dark green in the corner of your eye, which is a very restful presence. I always liked pine trees for that. 2 to go. Let's pop one there, and one there. And that's 10. Done. And a little message comes in. Pine trees, they say. Aren't they just the loveliest? They are beautiful, we say back. So much more foresty here now. And there's a little pun option, deciduously so, which technically doesn't quite make sense since pines are coniferous, not deciduous, but the pun is nice enough that we'll let it stand. Deciduously so. $100 and the quest is complete. Not bad at all. Right, while we were doing that, a whole crowd of new people wanted to move in. A little wave of arrivals. One wants a house near water, and I think we can absolutely do something about that. We'll upgrade one of the houses down by the lake, or move somebody into the mayor's hilltop area, which technically looks over the water. And another one just wants a regular house, no fuss, so we'll pop them in. And, of course, more people means more shops need more workers. So we've got a little cluster of shops flashing at me asking for staff. Let's go and add them. One in the poultry stall over on the new side. One in the cheese, one in the fish, there. And, oh, A message pops up saying warehouse can't transport to this building. But on inspection, actually, it's fine. It's just needing a moment. These little logistical wobbles sort themselves out if you don't panic about them. I find that's true in a lot of life, actually. Now, this bit is a slight adventure because I've realized there was a first warehouse we built ages ago that never really got connected to anything properly and just sits there being unhelpful. So we're going to have to demolish it, actually, which means finding the demolish button, which is not, where is it? It's not on the main menu, it's not in the, there we go, the little bulldozer icon tucked away on the corner. Demolish is K, apparently, right. And down it goes. It's rather funny, the whole warehouse just sort of unbuilds itself, the little blocks lifting off one at a time, in reverse of the way they went up. Very satisfying. And in its place we can put, well, we could put a bigger warehouse there, but honestly, we've got enough warehouses now, and I think that spot is better used for something else. So we'll just leave the space open for now. A little gap in the town where a warehouse used to be. It'll grass over, that's fine. Now, new letter. Oh, this one's quite abrupt. It says, I want, and then a couple of options. This is one where I can't quite tell what the family wants because they haven't said clearly. Oh, I see. They want something to do with light. Some sort of lighting decoration. And honestly, I'm going to be brave and use the dismiss option on this one, just this once, because we've got quite a lot on already, and we've been doing very well, and it's fine to say, you know what, not today, thank you. That's a valid mayoral choice. Dismiss. There. Which, honestly, is also a good general life lesson. You are allowed to say, not today, thank you, to some things. You cannot say yes to everything. And you certainly cannot say yes to everything at once. The world will keep on turning if you politely dismiss one request out of every 10, genuinely. Right, now, back to research. We've got points again. And there's a lovely one waiting for us that I want to get, which is called the shoemaker. That's a nice one. Shoes are always in demand. And there's also, let me see, there's the second floor housing, which we picked up ages ago but haven't actually used yet. And I really want to get to that in a moment because that's the main thing this whole episode is about, really. Bigger houses. But first, the shoemaker. There we go. Unlocked. And we've got a family wanting to move in who wants a house with trees. And we don't have any houses free at the moment, so we're going to have to build one or upgrade one. Let's put a little cluster of new houses over here in a bit of ground I hadn't really used. On the far side of the new shopping street, past the butcher, there's a nice patch of open ground where we could put 2, maybe 3 little houses. And before we put them there, we'll pop a few trees in first, so that when the family moves in, they'll immediately have their tree surroundings. Which is a nice bit of forethought, isn't it? Setting the scene before people arrive. So we'll get a couple of pine trees down. And a large leafy tree in the middle of the plot, and a medium tree next to it. There, now we've got a little wooded corner, and a house, one of the sandy-coloured ones, because we've had a lot of purple and yellow lately and I miss the sandy ones. Snap to path. In it goes. And another one, a bit further along, again sandy. Perfect. And now the tree-loving family can move in. Let's check their happiness. They're on 18, and then a moment later it's already climbed to 70-something because of all the trees. Lovely. Just satisfy their little wish and they perk right up. It's so satisfying watching that number climb. We also want to get the shoemaker built now that we've researched it. It's a nice looking little building actually. I quite like its shape. It's got a kind of a rounded roof, and if we place it over here on the new shopping street, right at the end, its range should just about reach all the houses in this new district. There we go. Snap to path, plonk it down, and it's already starting to build itself. And while we wait, we can add a few workers to it. One, and, well, it doesn't need very many. and then we'll pop a couple of decorations around it. A little bench outside for people to sit on and try their new shoes on. That's a lovely detail. And a couple of street lights on either side so the customers can find their way home in the evening. There. Right. Now, the big one. Second floor housing. This is the thing this whole episode is really about, isn't it? The clue was in the title. Bigger houses. So, how does this work? Let me click on one of our existing residences and see what appears in the menu. Ah, there we go. There's a little increase size button that's been sitting there ready this whole time, apparently, and I never noticed it. Add a floor to a house, making room for an additional family, which is exactly what we want. Each house can have a maximum of 3 floors, apparently, and the price scales up each time. So the first upgrade to 2 stories is cheap, and the 3rd floor is more expensive. Fair enough. Right. Let's just start upgrading then. Increase size. That house, click. It's now 2 stories. Increase size on that one. Click. 2 stories. And that one. And that one. And that one. And, oh, we're just going down the row. Click. 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 All of them going up a floor, adding a whole extra family's worth of living space each time. Very satisfying. Cannot lie. It is genuinely satisfying to click a button and watch a whole row of houses grow a 2nd story. And you can see it actually, if we zoom in, the way the little roof lifts off, and a new floor slots in underneath, and then the roof settles back down on top of it, and the windows on the new floor light up, and there's just more house. Same footprint, more house. Which is the most efficient sort of city growth there is, honestly. Oh, can't upgrade. What's happened? Are we out of... Yes, we're out of money. Fine. That's absolutely fine. We had loads a moment ago and now we don't. That's the classic mayoral experience. We'll get out of the upgrade menu and let the money roll back in. It comes in from taxes on the shops and from the quest rewards, and it ticks up steadily whenever things are running well. While we wait, some more families have arrived. One just wants a comfortable home. You go there. One wants food close by. You go there. One wants clothing close by. You can go there. We've got the green clothing store just down the road. In you all pop. There's also, I noticed this earlier and forgot to mention it, there's a lovely little touch where sometimes the game tells you the family's name. So one of these is the Pino family, apparently, and one of the earlier ones was the Bassour family, and a lot of them are just, named after residents, which gives them a bit of a personality. And I always think it's rather sweet when a game bothers to name the people, rather than just calling them Family 1 and Family 2. A little dignity for the small pixel person. And, oh, I've just realized, we've got a big monument to place. The Fountain of Seasons. We researched it a while ago and I completely forgot about it. So let's have a look. Where's the best place for a fountain? Fountains want to be in a spot where a lot of people will pass by them. So, actually, the little junction where our 2 main roads meet, right down near the water, would be perfect. There's a bit of open space right there that would suit a fountain beautifully. Let's plunk it down. $500 it costs, which is a fair whack, but it's a monument. Monuments should be expensive. That's the whole point. It's a bit of civic pride. And down it goes. And, oh, it's beautiful. It's a proper stone fountain with, you can see it's got carvings around the base, and water actually bubbling up out of the top, and the water catches the light and sparkles a bit as it falls back down. That's really lovely. It's just a very nice little piece of town centre. The kind of thing where, in a real town, you would agree to meet a friend at the fountain and know exactly what they meant. I've been to a town once where they had a fountain like that in the middle of the square, and every summer evening, people would sit around the edge of it and eat ice creams and just talk. Just sit and talk. And I remember thinking at the time, we don't really have enough places like that. Places whose only purpose is that people can gather and be near each other for no particular reason. Most modern places are so busy being useful. You go there to buy something, or to do something. Very few places are just, for gathering. But a fountain is. A fountain has no useful purpose at all, really, except that people gather around it, which is a lovely thing for a fountain to be. Anyway, where were we? Fountain placed. Very good. And the money's been ticking up while I was talking, so we can go back and finish upgrading houses. Let's pick this one. Click, increase size. That's a lovely double story now. And this one. Click, and this one. 2 stories, 2 stories, 2 stories, all the way down. You can really see the shape of the town changing as we do this. Where before it was all single-story little cottages, now there's actual height to the place. The skyline, if you can call the roofline of a small village a skyline, is starting to have a proper up and down rhythm to it. There's another lovely thing. I noticed the game gives a little cutscene of fireworks when you upgrade the town to the next tier, and we're getting quite close to that now. We had a note earlier saying complete 5 more requests to upgrade, and we've been ticking them off. Let's see where we are. We're very close. Very close indeed. Just need a few more requests and we'll tip over. We've also got another family wanting to move in. Someone wanting a house near water. And you know what? One of the houses we've just upgraded on the lakeside will suit them perfectly, because with a 2nd story they'll have a lovely view out over the water from their upstairs window. In you go. And they immediately jump to a very high happiness, which is very sweet. Oh, and one more little request has arrived while we've been chatting. Someone in the Pinot family, that same family I mentioned, wants their house to be surrounded by nature category decorations, which is basically trees and bushes. And happily they've moved into the tree corner we built earlier, so their happiness is already quite high. We'll just add a couple more bushes and a wildflower patch around them and that'll top them up nicely. There, perfect. I'm just going to sit here for a moment and take in the view. Because we're at a really nice stage of the town now, and I'd like to just look at it. If we pull the camera back, right back, up and away, we can see the whole thing spread out in front of us. Our original little cluster of houses down by the water, all with their 2nd stories now, glowing softly in the dark. The market stalls in a neat little row, the warehouse, the research centre still ticking away. Our mayor's house up on the hill, with its lit windows and its mailbox and the pine trees we planted around it, the little path curling up the hill, the road curving round the lake, the new shopping street on the other side, with its stalls and its clothing shop and its butcher and its brand new shoe shop, the 2nd warehouse behind it, the tree corner, and, tucked away over there, our little haunted corner with its ring of jack-o'-lanterns still glowing away. And now, right in the middle of it all, the Fountain of Seasons, catching the light. It's genuinely a nice little place. And we made it, from a few houses and a road, over the course of a couple of evenings, which is, well, it's very satisfying, isn't it? Small things, added slowly, suddenly a town. Right. On we go. Just a few more little requests to tick off and we'll be there. Some more families arriving, some more workers needing to be added, some more houses to upgrade to 2 stories. And, actually, we've unlocked the 3rd story upgrade too, or at least we will in a moment. So a couple of the houses can go up even further. Very tall houses, 3 floors, positively metropolitan. But before all that, let me finish this glass of water. It's very important, when you're doing something quite absorbing, to remember to hydrate. It's a small thing, but it makes such a difference. Little sip. That's the ticket. Right. I'm going to speed things along a bit here. Not the game, I mean, we're still playing at the same slow pace as always. But just, we've got a few more little things to attend to before the big moment of tipping over into being a proper village. And I don't want to describe every single click along the way, because half of it is just sort of gently tidying up. Adding a worker here, placing a bush there, making sure the shops all have their staff. Moving a family from one house to another so they can be nearer the trees they wanted, or nearer the water, or nearer the shops. It's very much like tidying a room, really. That final phase of tidying, where the big work is done and it's just the small last details, fluffing the cushions, straightening the picture frame, wiping down the counter. It's not exciting work, but there's a quiet satisfaction in it that the bigger tasks don't quite have. So, we'll tidy. We'll add a worker to the shoemaker. We'll pop another 2 bushes near the graveyard, because it was looking a bit stark. We'll upgrade another house, a nice pink one on the corner, up to 2 stories. We'll notice that one of the residents has been marked as unhappy because their house's decoration level is only 90%, which is, you cannot please everyone all of the time, and 90% is a very high bar. But we'll pop a little potted sunflower next to their door, and that will bring them up to 95, and they'll subside back into contentment. And one lovely small thing, I noticed the flower patch decoration can actually be placed on water, which I hadn't realized. So we can put a few little flower patches out on the surface of the lake, like lily pads, and they float there very sweetly, and it does absolutely lovely things to the view of the town from up on the hill. I do enjoy details like that, when a game lets you do something that's completely useless but visually charming. There, a few flower patches out on the lake now. Beautiful. And look, we've had a train pull in, a little run of 3 new families, and one of them wants a regular house, one wants food close by, one wants clothing close by, and we can accommodate all of them without much fuss because we've been building all this new space and upgrading all the houses. So 1, 2, 3, and they're all in and settling down. And right at that moment, a little chime plays, and a message comes up, and it's the moment. We've hit the requirements. We can upgrade. And when we click the button, a little cutscene plays, and there are fireworks, beautiful little pixel fireworks going off over the town, and the game announces that we've become a village, a proper village. Look at that, not a town anymore. A village, which is a very small step in some ways. The difference between a town and a village is largely one of pride, really, but it is a proper milestone, and it feels good. And underneath the announcement, there's a note that says, Leisure and Research menu expanded, which means we've got a whole load of new things to unlock next time. Research equipment, puppet theatre, street organ, a barber, extra warehouse workers, remove rocks, upgrade roads, city hall, plaza decoration, wooden bridges, which is a whole lot of new toys, and I'm quite excited about several of them, especially the puppet theatre and the wooden bridges, but those are all for another evening. For tonight, we've done what we set out to do. Bigger town, bigger houses, a proper village, and an entire second shopping district on the other side of the lake, with its own warehouse and its own clothing shop and its own butcher and a shoemaker and a lovely little haunted corner and a fountain of seasons. Not bad for one sleepy evening, I think. Right, so that's the last of the proper work done, and now we can just sit and enjoy it for a little while, because that's the nice bit, isn't it? That's the reason we do all of this in the first place. Not to hit the next milestone, not to unlock the puppet theatre, just to sit at the end of an evening and look at the thing you've made and go, well, isn't that nice? I'm going to slow the game right down. There's a little speed setting in the corner, and we'll bring it down to its slowest, which means the little people are still going about their business, but at a very gentle pace, trains will still come in, and if any more families arrive, I'll deal with them. But honestly, we've done more than enough for one evening. Any more families that show up can just wait patiently at the station. They're patient townsfolk. Marie told us so herself in her letter. Let's pan the camera around then, just gently. I'll take us on a little slow flight over the village if you like, and I'll narrate what I can see, and you can just let your eyes close if they want to, because you don't really need to see it. I'll describe it well enough. Starting on the far side, over by the mayor's house up on the hill. The house sits there quite proudly on its little rise, with its lit windows warm against the dark blue of the night sky, and the mailbox on the front is standing there ready for another day's letters. Around it, the pine trees we planted are dark shapes in the dusk, and the road curls away from it down the side of the hill in a nice, gentle switchback, and disappears round the bend. Down at the bottom of the hill, the road runs along the edge of the lake, and the lake is very still tonight, almost glassy. You can see the reflection of the moon in it, the game's moon, I mean, and the lights of the houses along the shore doubling themselves in the water, and the flower patches we planted are floating there, little clusters of colour drifting very slowly with the game's imaginary current. Along the shore, the original cluster of houses, the ones we built at the very start of all this, back before we even had a mayor's house, are now mostly 2 stories, some of them 3, and they're glowing softly, little windows all lit. You can see the tiny silhouettes of residents moving very slowly around inside them. One of them, if you look carefully, is reading a book, apparently, or holding what looks like a book, at any rate. That's a nice bit of detail, that. Past the houses, the market stalls in their neat little row, poultry, cheese, the warehouse behind them with its big wide doors and its worker figures still walking their little transport routes back and forth in the dark, ferrying goods around. They never stop, those workers, even at night, very dedicated of them. Now, if we swing the camera around to the other side of the lake, we can see the second shopping district we built tonight. There's the road curling up around the rise, and along the top of it the new run of stalls, poultry, cheese, fish, vegetable, fruit and salad, and across the road the butcher, and the second clothing shop with its green sign glowing in the window, and the shoemaker on the far end, and the second warehouse tucked in behind. And a couple of street lamps we placed casting warm little pools of light onto the pavement. Behind the shopping street, our little cluster of tree houses, with the small copse of trees we planted around them, big leafy ones and pines mixed in, and the family who wanted trees is presumably very happy indeed, in there somewhere. And, just a little further on, tucked away up on the edge of things, our haunted corner, the gravestone with the single flower at the base of it. The ring of jack-o'-lanterns glowing softly around it, the withered trees leaning slightly in different directions. It looks, at this hour, quite atmospheric actually, not scary, just moody. Like the set of a very gentle sort of ghost story. And then, right in the middle of it all, the middle of the village, at the junction where the 2 main roads meet, the fountain of seasons, catching the moonlight, water still bubbling and falling and bubbling and falling in that steady, endless way that fountain water does. That's the whole village then. Everything that used to be in a couple of dozen little scattered houses is now a proper little settlement. It's got a shape to it. It's got a middle and edges. It's got neighborhoods. It's got a haunted corner. That's the mark of a proper place, I think, when it's got a bit that people call the haunted corner. That's when you know you've made somewhere real. I might just sit here on this view for a moment. There's no rush to do anything. I've been thinking, actually. Do you know what these games really are, when you get down to it? These slow city builders. I've been thinking about this for a while. I think they're a bit like doing a jigsaw puzzle, but a jigsaw puzzle where you get to pick the picture as you go along. The satisfaction is very similar. There's a bit of your brain that just enjoys placing small things next to other small things until a whole picture emerges. And you don't really need to be thinking about anything else while you do it, because the whole business of it is quite absorbing without being difficult, which is exactly the kind of thing you want to do at the end of a long day, isn't it? I remember when I was small, my grandma used to do jigsaws on her kitchen table. Always these enormous ones, 1,000-piece, sometimes bigger, and they'd be spread out on a big green baize cloth so she could roll them up if she needed to clear the table for dinner, and then unroll them the next day and pick up where she left off. And she used to sort the pieces by colour first, all the sky bits in one little pile, all the tree bits in another, all the water bits in another, and I remember thinking that was a proper grown-up sort of way of going about it, very organised. And she'd sit there for hours with a cup of tea and the radio on, quietly in the background, just placing pieces, not really talking, just placing pieces. And I used to sit next to her and try to be helpful, and mostly not be very helpful at all, and she'd very patiently let me find one piece and place it, and then she'd carry on. And I think that's probably where I got the taste for this sort of gentle, slow work in the first place. From sitting next to my grandma at her jigsaw table. She'd have quite liked this game, I think. She'd have got on with it very well. She'd have been a very good mare, my grandma. Very fair. Would have had opinions about where the bushes should go. Right. I'm going to leave the game running for a bit, and just let it be. If any little residents wander into shot, they wander into shot. If a train comes in, I'll pop the arrivals into houses, but I won't make a big fuss about it. We're just settling. Oh, look, there's actually a train coming in now, as I say that. Very timely of it. And out come a couple of families. And they've got a look about them of people who've just arrived somewhere and don't quite know where anything is. Standing at the platform looking around, one of them with a little confused icon over their head. Right. What do they need? This one wants a regular house, and there's a lovely 2-story up on the hill near the mares that we can put them in. In you go. Off you trot. And they walk very slowly up the path we laid earlier, past the pine trees, and let themselves into their new front door. The other one wants a house near shops, and, well, we've got plenty of those now, in both districts, so we'll pop them into a house on the new side. In you go, off you go. Walking slowly along the road, past the fountain, over the little junction, up the road on the other side, and into their new home. That's a very slow walk. You've got time, if you're falling asleep, to more or less follow the little figures all the way from the station to their new houses without missing anything. Nothing else is really happening. Let me just add workers wherever they're needed. There's a little icon flashing up over there on one of the new shops. One worker in there. There's another one flashing over one of the market stalls. One worker in there, and that's just about everything. A very small notification pops up saying complete 5 more requests to upgrade. Which is nice. It means there's plenty for us to be doing next time. We'll come back and do those next time. Now, I do want to give you a proper little recap, because that's the polite thing to do at the end of an evening. So, a small recap of what we did tonight, said gently, because it's very late now and we don't want to get anyone excited. We arrived back at our little town. Marie Bonhomme wrote to us and asked us to build a mayor's house, so we did, up on the hill above the lake, with a big mailbox out the front. From there we got a letter from a lady wanting a red clothing boutique, so we researched clothing shops and clothing colours, and we built her one, and she was very pleased and told us she looked stunning. Then some children wrote to us asking for flowery bushes to hide in during their game of hide and seek, and we planted a lovely spread of them around the neighbourhood, and they wrote back happily and told us the bushes smelled great. We built ourselves a whole second shopping street on the other side of the lake, with a run of food stalls and a butcher and a second clothing shop, this one in green. We got a warning about a warehouse being too far away, and we solved it very neatly by putting up a nice big second warehouse over on the new side. We did a haunted corner for a child who was worried about a night's ghost, with a gravestone and a single flower and a ring of jack-o'-lanterns and a small copse of withered trees. We planted 10 pine trees for a resident who felt the neighborhood was too oaky. We built a shoemaker on the new shopping street. We got the Fountain of Seasons up, our first monument, right in the middle of the village. And, most importantly of all, the reason it's called Bigger Town, Bigger Houses, we upgraded almost every house in the whole village to have a second story, and 1 or 2 to have a third. And at the end of all that, we hit the requirement, and the little cutscene played, and the fireworks went off, and we became a proper village. Not a bad night's work. And there's a lot to look forward to next time too. We've got a whole shelf full of new things to research. A puppet theatre, and a street organ, and a barber, and wooden bridges, and a city hall, and plaza decorations, and the ability to remove rocks and upgrade our roads, which is really quite a nice haul. So we'll come back to that in another episode, if you'd like to sit with me again. I'd love that. But for now, I think we're done for the night. Right, so, if you're still with me, hello, thank you for staying. And if you're already asleep, well, you can't hear me, but thank you too, in a way. It was very nice of you to put me on. This has been the first episode of Fall Asleep with the Sleepy Informer, and I'm so glad you chose to spend it with me. I hope it was gentle. I hope it was the right sort of gentle. If there were bits that were too much, or bits where I got too chatty, or bits where I got too quiet, do let me know. I'll adjust. This is a new series, and I'm still finding the shape of it, and I very much want it to be the kind of thing that actually helps you sleep. So, I'm all ears. If you want to come back another night, I'll be here. There'll be more town to city, definitely. We've got a whole village to grow into a proper little city yet, and all those new things to unlock. And I want to see what the puppet theatre looks like. And I want to try building a proper bridge out over the water. There's plenty of evenings worth of playing left in this game. Plenty. So do come back. And I'd like, before we finish, just to say one more small thing. If you're the sort of person who sometimes struggles to sleep, and I know a lot of people who put on things like this are exactly that sort of person, I want you to know that it's all right. It's very common. You are not the only one. There are lots of us out here in the dark, all trying to fall asleep, all putting on very slow videos of very slow games, all doing our best. It's a strange sort of company in a way, but it is company, and I'm glad to be part of it with you tonight. So, settle in, have a lovely long sleep, let your shoulders drop a little bit further into the pillow, let your jaw unclench. If it's clenched, it probably is a bit. We all do it and none of us notice. Just let it soften, and your hands. Let your hands go soft too. There's nothing to be holding on to just now. Take a slow breath in, and a slow breath out, and another slow breath in, and a slow breath out. Good. I'll leave the little village on the screen for a while, just sitting there, with its lights on, and its fountain running, and its little people moving very slowly around inside their 2-story houses. And if you drift off before the video ends, that's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Good night, from me. Good night, from the village. Good night, from Marie Bonholm, and the red dress lady, and the hide-and-seek children, and the little pine tree-loving resident, and the ghost in the haunted corner. Good night, from all of us. Sleep well. I'll see you next time.